Hi, just before we get going with the show, this is episode 2 of an interview that I started with Rachel Davies from Hoare Lea. If you haven't listened to episode 1, you might want to check that out first so that this episode makes sense. Bye. But looking at the women in sport and, this girl can and stuff, I mean, they've done some amazing marketing. Like, you just look at those campaigns and you're just like, wow. They've just made it look so exciting. And, and just taking a lot of kind of the reasons why women were avoiding sport and taking those reasons head on and tackling them. And you're just like, this is really good. And they've made it exciting, invigorating, and, some of the best ads across the piece.
Fantastic and gritty and really good. I mean, I think that's we could learn a lot from that in our industry, because what's to say a career in the built environment could not provide? Let's stick with the young women profile. It's a career where you can travel the world. It's a career where you can make a difference to everyday people's lives. It's a career where you can shape where people live and play and work. Yeah. It's a career where you can help with climate, with demographics, with old age, with sexism, with security. I mean, it touches all of people's lives. So why can't we speak about it in a much more exciting way? And I think there's a lot we could learn from how sports have done it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's it is just, we've got to find a way of making it look, actually show how amazingly exciting it is. Because I think a lot of people don't even realise it exists as a career, let alone. Let alone it's something you're going to want to join, I don't want to get dirty. So are there particular kind of campaigns, and what's the kind of latest big thought leadership or areas you're looking at the moment? What themes are? Climate change is obviously one of them, as everyone has to.
Yeah, lots on climate change. In fact, we're just working now with our friends over in Tech. So the audience might not know that Hoare Lea was acquired by Tech 2 years ago now, I think. So we're part of this bigger family. Tech are really big. There's about 27,000 people worldwide. So we just begin to work with our partners in Tech are in what we call the High Performance Buildings Group, and we're looking at creating an ESG thought leadership piece, which will not necessarily respond, but it will time with the big COP conference. So we're probably looking to go in January 2024 with that. But that's bringing the global expertise together to talk about ESG, which is another subject matter it's just slowly being politicized at a time when it was the last thing we all needed to be.
Yeah. I mean, I still can't get over the fact that 15-minute cities was politicized. I was like, it just means you can watch the doctors. I was just like, I understand that.
That was that lady who was on The Apprentice, wasn't it? I've forgotten her name.
There were a couple of people, but there was also people campaigning against it. And you're like, but it just means you can walk everywhere and get to what you need really quickly.
Yeah, you wonder how these things get misinterpreted. Don't
no,
you?
That was one where I was like, I understand. They're taking over. It's like, just means you can walk stuff.
Struck some weird conspiracy theorists who were...
and the whole thing about net zero and whether or not, let's just kick it into the long grass. You're like, don't do that.
There won't be any long grass unless we focus on it.
No. Kick it into long grass.
Need more long grass.
Need some greenery, that's for sure. So you also do your own kind of, I saw you did like a big event, like Designing the Future conference, which looks amazing as well, which you did in May. What was that about? Tell us about that.
Yeah, Designing the Future is a particular love of mine. It's one of the highlights of the year. I don't know if you remember the Christmas lectures from the Royal Institute.
Yes, I do, yeah.
Okay, so as a child, I used to watch the Christmas lectures. And they were really the inspiration for Designing the Future. The Royal Institute, I don't know if you've ever been, is an amazing, amazing building. And the theatre that they have there is, well, it's petrifying because it's so intense. It's like a cauldron. You can see the whites of everyone's eyes. You're on a flat stage. Yeah, and it's quite intimidating. But it was designed to be a space where people would demonstrate their products and innovations to an audience, and the audience would be able to ask them. And so everything is honed in down on the speaker, not on a lovely plasma screen where PowerPoint slides can reside. It's right on the person. And so we try and bring together 5 or 6 speakers and a really interesting host, and they have 8 minutes to give a little thought-provoking talk on something that has relevance to the built environment, but doesn't necessarily have to be led from a built environment point of view, but there's things that we should be thinking about, not pie in the sky stuff that's probably never going to happen, but things that are maybe 2, 3, 4 years ahead of us that we ought to make some time to think about. So we this year we had Amal Rajan hosting. He was absolutely brilliant. What a great guy. He was fun. He was on top of it, just sharp.
I was going to say he's really fast as well, isn't he? Yeah.
And then we had all sorts of different talks, and we also had some actors coming in, which scared the living bejesus out of everybody. And it was great. It was great fun.
So it's kind of like, I guess in a way, I'm going to say it's like your own TED Talks in a way. Like, do you know what I mean? It's that kind of small.
Yes.
I mean, they're not small, but it is that kind of.
Yeah, that kind of thing, but with participation from the audience.
Lovely. Great
all
concept.
Crazy
really
experiments. Nice. So we've blown up.
And do you do them every year, or is that an annual thing you do, or is it?
Yes, annually. Yeah. So we're planning for next year's event at the moment.
Cool. That sounds very, very cool. I'm going to try and
you have to come along.
I mean, this is so cool. I think it's just expanding your horizons again, right? I think because the industry gets so insular, right? And so kind of like, I'm going to do this, and look, such and such is doing that. Let's just do exactly the same thing. So the fact that you're going to try different things, I think is really lovely.
We don't have a good track record, maybe. We're behind in digitisation. We're behind on climate, and we're a big cause of climate change. So the industry could do with getting some different perspective.
Absolutely. So you do have a podcast. I'm going to ask a bit about that because I love podcasts, obviously. So how did it come about, and how do you do it? What sort of guests are you going
to? Well, the podcast, like probably hundreds of other companies up and down the country, came about in lockdown because we, like everyone, the world was turned on its head, and some of the more traditional routes to getting in touch with people or connecting with them had just disappeared or just made them a lot harder. So I'm a parent, you're a parent, no school, juggling work, just needed to provide content in a way that people could consume it whenever they liked, so it could suit their schedule, suit their schedules, and do something a little bit different. So that's where it sort of came from, really. And a bit like Designing the Future, the event, and a bit like our client magazine, we try and get guests on who have something interesting to say that's related to the built environment. Very rarely are they a client. It's not a salesy thing. It's a discussion with someone who's got something interesting.
So it's actually something you're really interested in. Let's have a discussion about it. I like that. It's nice. Yeah.
We've had all sorts of people on there. Memorable ones include NASA astronauts who were talking about when you're up in space and you look back at the Earth, that you just immediately become sort of an advocate for sustainability, and you see the whole world in a different perspective. That was really awesome. We've had people from Pinewood Studios. We've had people from later living sector. We've had people from academics who are doing something really interesting and cool. We had a guy from a firm called Gravitricity who look at gravity as a renewable source of energy. So all
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Seriously out there. I'll be like, oh.
Yeah. So it's just an interesting listen to do in your own time. I mean, you'll know better than most. You've got to have a bit of discipline, haven't you, about podcasting in the sense that you've got to have a steady stream, and you've got to keep on top of your quality and giving your listeners what they're after. So certainly, they're hard work. It was another thing added into our marketing mix.
It's a slow burn as well. People seem to suddenly think, oh, you're going to go and you're going to get like, it's like, no, because actually there's only about this amount of people that actually listen to podcasts actively.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's much more about tapping into that than it is bringing in your existing market or target audience in, because it's like not everyone listens to them.
No, I'm not, a format for me, it wouldn't be my first choice either. No, I prefer to read, for example. So I'd rather take a long read rather than listen. So no, it's hard work. As you say, slow burn is a good way to describe it. I think we're still going because we're still lots of interesting people. And it's a good vehicle to hear from those people that, it's just, you can get into a bit more detail and you can get a sense of the person who you're talking to rather than sort of. Yeah. So we keep going and we'll hit that breakthrough, viral moment, I'm sure.
Hi, it's Ayo here, and as you're a listener to the show, I just wanted to tell you a bit more about how I can help you get your built environment marketing done. If you're looking to set up a company podcast or trying to figure out what content you want to create for an amazing campaign that really engages your audience, or even if you want to get your business more up to speed in terms of how they approach digital marketing and how you get kind of senior level people on board with workshops and training, then do bear me in mind. I'm actually a marketing consultant, content creator and trainer, but I work specifically with built environment firms just like yours. So I know the best practice and approaches, but also most importantly, how to apply them to our sector. You can find out more about my work at abbasmarketing.com, or feel free to email me at Ayo, which is AYO, at abbasmarketing.com. There's also links in the show notes too. Thanks for listening, and now back to the show. I don't think I've ever had a viral moment.
Not with regard to the podcast, anyway.
It's like I've dropped mics, I've done all this kind of stuff. It's never really worked. No. I sort of say to people, it's like, people are like, oh, I'm like, well, actually, if I get like 400 downloads a month overall for the whole series, I'm like, but that's like 400 people who have me in their ears. That's quite,
that's really good.
Quite a lot. Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you kind of think about it, and you're like, oh, it's not thousands. And you're like, actually, do I need that? And what? Yeah, I think that, and also I think podcasts are one of those things where people come up to you and go, oh, I listen, and like you don't realise, and they come up to you and they start having conversations, and it's another channel, isn't it? And I guess it's just understanding that we all consume content in a different way.
Yeah,
I love listening. But then it can feed into all your other content channels anyway, because you've got them all as well. So one more question. Do you because you produce a lot of high quality content across the piece, is it done in-house or do you work with consultants? What's your mix or agencies?
Yeah, I mean, vast proportion of it is in-house.
Wow.
And that probably explains the size of the team. Because, we've got people who can write, who can design, who can animate, who can strategize. We've got and communications professionals. So we've got the mix internally, which I know some people would never look at that model, but it works really well for us. Thinking back to the rebrand, for example, Mr. B's had done a brilliant job in creating all the branding assets that needed to be used, but there was only one graphic designer at Hoare Lea. There was no way we could implement a graphics-led branding piece with one designer. And there was also no way that we could work on a job-by-job basis with Mr. B's, because I would have bankrupted Hoare Lea within about a month. So that didn't work It didn't work very well for us. Some things we do outsource where we haven't got the skills. So in one of the thought leadership pieces, we work with an illustrator, Andy Council, who's a Bristol guy, and we chose him, one, because we loved his style, but two, he also has done some murals in hospitals. So he was just a good, relevant illustrator match. And we also work with a firm. Can I name them? Probably it's okay, isn't it? We work with a firm called Longitude, who have helped us in the editorial sense and in the interviewing sense of getting to clients, contributors, influencers, sponsors who we want to talk to about the thought leadership. So they've helped us with that. But for the most part, we do it ourselves. And I think
that's a good team. That's good.
Yeah, we understand the business. We know some of the things that can be successful, some of the things where we would get pushback and why and where. So it works for us.
Fantastic. Okay, my last question. So what do you see as the biggest challenge facing marketeers at the moment?
Well, I think if I focus on our industry for a minute, I think there's still not enough marketeers at the top table. So I don't think they have as much influence as they should. And I think that's going to be an important step change for built environment. Interestingly enough, my team and I were looking at what awards could the marketing team enter in the industry. There's not a single award category in any of the big industry awards that pick out good marketing.
Really?
Can you name one? Can you think of one?
No, the only awards are separate ones.
So I thought, well, that in itself tells you an interesting story, doesn't it? The value of marketing in the construction industry. So I think that's quite a small, not small, it's a big challenge, but it's it's very specific.
No, we're just not that way. We're not seen as top table. We're an expense. That's what they see it as. That's it, rather than a value add, aren't we?
Often that's the case. I mean, I have to say that the Hoare Lea leadership have been very supportive here of marketing. Hence, I've got 15 people. But I know that's not the case everywhere. And one of the big challenges and we've touched on this in terms of the STEM recruitment struggle, will be how we elevate this industry to attract really good people and retain really good people as skills sort of blur, don't they? So we want to keep really good people with us. So there's definitely a big communications challenge and a marketing challenge for all of us. And then more generally, I think obviously economic situation is maybe a little bit flat, and so we've all got to respond to that accordingly. But hopefully, certainly for us, it's going to be quality over quantity every day of the week. And I'd say there's probably some more usual things that you probably hear all the time. What's AI going to do, etc., etc. But I think
that's the next thing.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'll stick with those two, though.
No, the AI thing is such an interesting one. It's one of those where I do want to do a full show on it, because it's like, actually, I mean, it could take a lot of the repetitive stuff away. And I think, like we say, there's a whole process aspect of what we do that isn't probably up to speed as in terms of operationally, right? And the thing is that, but then, then there is some really bad content coming out of AI as well, where you're like,
oh, there is. Yeah, it's good fun because you can spot it a mile off, can't you? But
I thought that was really weird. Read really strangely. It's like, I did an AI.
That'll be it then.
Yeah,
it's certainly going to be interesting. But again, I think it's just how you work with it. Nothing's going to replace the human creativity and spark and
that
intent.
ideas piece, when you bring people together, that's the magic of what your team does. And that's not AI. That's those conversations of actually no. And that's how you get the amazing pieces of content, isn't it?
Absolutely. AI would never have said, let's illustrate a robot on its knees as if it was a hospital. That will never come out of AI. That only comes out of a crazy human person's head.
And on that crazy human person's head note, let's finish the interview there. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Rachel.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks so much for listening to the Built Environment Marketing Show. Don't forget to check out the show notes, which will have useful links and resources connected to this episode. You can find that on abbasmarketing.com. And of course, if you like the show, please do share it with others on social, as it helps more people to find us. See you soon.